In this video, I'm going to inspire you and show you how to do transfers, stamping, and a technique called masking that will be a game changer and paint anything that doesn't talk back to you. Did you know that you can paint fabric, glass, mirror, wood, walls, jewelry, plastic? You can even dye your dog's hair. It is all natural, this paint. Here's the before piece. It's not bad. I bought this piece at like Family Dollar 15 years ago. It's over. You can dye your own hair. Of course, you know my story if you watch my past YouTube videos. The reason there's no blonde down here, melted it off myself. I diluted crinoline DIY paint, 9 parts water to 1 part paint, and sprayed the piece before I painted on the first coat and let it dry. It started out a whole different direction than it ended up. And as I was doing this process, I was like, what am I doing with my life? This is not going well. This looks like caca, and I've got to have a YouTube video. Well, I was on the Southwestern State University dance team for 1 whole semester. I mixed plaster of Paris in with the paint to make it a chunkier texture throughout this tapestry. And I would just like to say that their uniform was leotard tights with like almost a wrestler bodysuit over it. It was hideous and so unforgiving. The next year they got cute little palm squirts. Should I leave that in there? So I just took a Chalk Couture squeegee light tool and some little plastic things and just started like scooping, whatever, the paint on. This is looking kind of cool, but it gets really dark and ugly and oh my goodness. Yeah, I totally messed it up. So I end up adding Old 57 on with a brush, blending brush, and it kind of starts bringing it back to life. I loved the Flag Girls. So it's still looking cool right now, but I totally messed this thing up and it was totally pointless this whole first part. Girl too, and I just loved the flags and they had the rifle. UGLY, you ain't got no alibi, you're ugly. Hey, you're ugly. This is awful. I should be fired, but really I wasn't getting paid for this, so I can't be fired. I gotta keep going. You gotta press through the ugly. But my saying is press through the crazy. Okay, I get the Copper's Penny from Heaven and use a brayer, which is a plastic roller, and start rolling that on there, and it starts looking better. And I'm adding Salty Kiss in the DIY paint in just a vein type pattern with some mermaid tail and the Copper's Pennies from Heaven. And I have mermaid tail diluted 9 parts water, 1 part paint in a spray bottle. And after I do my veining, I spray it with that, and this turned out so cool. But I left the first part in there because that could be a cool technique too. So just get in there and keep going until you get it like you like it. So it's not necessary, but I took a sanding block and lightly sanded it since I was going to put a transfer from the Iron Orchid design on it and a stamping technique. Watch for that because there's a masking technique you need to know coming up. Here is more of the 9 parts water, 1 part mermaid tail and DIY paint, and I sprayed and I'm letting it drip left and right, up and down. So I spray and hold it up. And it turned out so good. And then you seen me blotting it with some cheesecloth because it was so wet, and it just gave it some extra texture there. If you haven't tried the Iron Orchid design transfers and stamps and molds, you have got to try it. They are so fun and addictive. So I have all the links to the things that I've used in the description box, and I would encourage you to try it. Right here I am using the Queen Bee paint, and I wet distressed it with a wet wash rag, and then I dark waxed it, and it turned out really good. This looked good, but it just wasn't finished. So I opened up my Iron Orchid butterfly stamp in Monarch, and wait till you see how that turns out. So anybody else love the twirlers? Bring it back. Bring it back. They have them. They're still out there. Twirling gig. Almost broke my cute little Harbor Freight fireplace that I love. Okay, for the masking technique, you stamp on a piece of paper and then you cut around it, and then you put that on top of the image that it is, and then you stamp over it, and then it doesn't look muddled and messy. It looks like it's back behind and layered. So this is an amazing technique. I will have more videos detailing how to do the stamps and masking, but you gotta do it. It changes everything. So for this stamp, I used painter's tape and a ruler to kind of give me a guideline so it doesn't go up and down and left and right, and it just really does help. When you are stamping, you don't want to ink your stamp or roll on the clay paint over your project. So I put it on this piece of paper called a mount. I cut around them and leave that on there because it helps you to rub your fingers over it and get the stamp good. The desk was done with the same technique as the tapestry. I'm going to use flames the next time I twirl.